next movie I produced, is called Shadow Force. I don't think it's made its way to the continent yet. It just came out in theaters in the U.S. It's a big action movie with Kerry Washington and Omar Sy, who's originally from Senegal. And so that film we shot in Colombia, South America. We went there literally because it was between three places. We were either going to shoot it in Atlanta in the U.S., or South Africa, or Croatia, or in the fourth place was Colombia. It came down to numbers. So when we went to the studio to say we really want to shoot in Atlanta, it was so expensive there, right? Even though Atlanta has a bunch of tax incentives, etc. So we were left with South Africa, Colombia, and Croatia. The only reason we went to Colombia was because there was tax incentives, there was production service infrastructure, and it was in general just cheaper to shoot there, right? Even with bringing sort of department heads from another place. Now, our movie benefited from that, so we shot it in Colombia. We made some tweaks to the script to make it work. What I did not like about it necessarily is we were now a part of America coming to a place, shooting a film, taking advantage of the resources, and not leaving any infrastructure, right? People got more experience, and now I'm sure some of the people who were not department heads then can now make themselves available to be a department head on the next film. But we didn't do anything intentional to create infrastructure, and I didn't like that, right? It wasn't my choice, but still, I didn't feel that was equitable in a real way. The second example I'll give you is earlier stages. So I'm in development right now with a studio in Japan called Toho Studios, who I think they're actually showing Godzilla -1 tomorrow, which is a Toho Studios project. So Toho Studios they're basically the Disney of Japan in a lot of ways, right? They have one of the largest libraries of films, including Kurosawa's one. And so they had a romance film, a sci-fi romance film that we saw, and we decided to partner with them in a real way where we're developing that film for adaptation for the U.S. market, for the Western market in general, right? But it's not, hey, we're gonna buy the rights to that film and just go make it and then we'll give you a check later. We're actually in real conversation and partnership constantly about how to make this film work for the Western market but also honor the original IP. I give you those two examples because that's two very different ways to work together across borders, whether it's within other countries on the continent or across the water, right? So one is true co-production, right? So what's missing, in my opinion, here on the continent right now, or specifically in Nigeria, is a premier production service company. And I understand why, because everybody has their own crew and group, and you have to kind of roll with that group to make real projects. And everybody's, racing to get more content out there. And I understand that. To get to the next level, there's going to have to be a sort of aggregation of the physical production abilities that become a production service entity here on the continent, right? And specifically in Nigeria. South Africa has several. It's about 3 or 4 that U.S. trusts sight unseen to come shoot a movie there. It doesn't exist here yet. The other version of that deal I mentioned with Toho Studios in Japan is from my IP creative standpoint. That has nothing to do with co-production as far as like the finances of it all. That's more about, hey, what creators or creative IP exist here that would work if it were adapted for another place, right? Or is there creative IP that exists here that, as is, to her point, love is universal, right? Not just because it's my last name, but love is universal, right? So if you have a story that just works, then you populate that project with people that exist there. So this is not just talk. I did this last summer. So when I came to Afrique last year, she only introduced me to, the first year, she only introduced me to Bubby, right? Obviously, he's like the Eddie Murphy of Nigeria in a real way, right? And so we had a movie that we shot last year in America with some big stars and whatnot. And I made them write a role into the movie that I knew Bubby would work for. And then he still had to audition, and do a tape or whatever, but it was written for him, so I knew he was gonna kill it, and he did. He came to America and he shot the film. And so my point is, that's another way. That's not a co-production. I didn't ask anybody for permission I didn't have to ask, you know, any trade commission or anything. It was more like, let's just cross-pollinate so that that movie now hopefully elevates him. He elevated our movie, right? It all works together so that the next one, we continue to do that over and over again.
Thank you. So,